Hello everyone, welcome to my review of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 6. My goodness, going strong for another season. But before we get into this one, let me just explain a little thing that I feel like really needs to be explained for this season. And that is the fact of continuity. Because this is canon to the MCU and I will not have any naysayers, okay? But this doesn't reference the snap. And takes place 1 year after Season 5, which was like right before the snap. You could say takes place the day before the snap. Because Infinity War takes place over the course of at least 2 days, but could be 3, who's to say. But I mean, at the beginning of the movie, we have the fact that when Doctor Strange gets attacked, it's daytime, but when Vision gets attacked, it's nighttime, so that is already 1 day, and then the next day, so maybe like 3 days, who's to say, maybe 4 days in total. So, you know, we had a couple of days before the end of, you know, Half of Life. However, this series doesn't reference it, and that's because of the fact that, well, they didn't know. That is the one, well, at least they didn't know about the 5-year time skip that Endgame is going to do. So they didn't really know what they were going to do, and also when they were going to release. Like, they didn't know how they were able to reference it or anything like that. They had no idea, so they just decided to omit it completely instead of being completely wrong, because they could have just been like, well, that snap thing was horrible, but thankfully we're okay. And it's like, yeah, but the 5-year time skip though. So they omit it entirely. So headcanon wise, this takes place in cities that were least affected by the snap, that were not really affected, because that is the thing about the snap. You don't know what half of life means. Like, does it go by countries, by cities? How does that work? It doesn't make any sense, really, because like the whole of Belgium could be safe, okay? None of them could have been snapped away, but everyone in the Netherlands is gone. That is a possibility. That way Belgium doesn't feel the effects really of the fact that half of all life is gone, but the Netherlands is just empty. So we're just gonna go with one of those, because if Marvel can first of all make a joke about the snap, which that is insulting, and also pick and choose who they're gonna save and not, because did you see Spider-Man Far From Home? We haven't yet, because we'll get there, but like most of the classmates from Peter Parker all got snapped away. Very convenient, right? It's only the characters that need to not have snapped away, those are the ones that did not get snapped away, and they are now older. So it is just a weird thing, so we're just gonna go with it, okay? We're gonna reference the snap in the back of our head. Anyway, what are we doing this season? Well, this season we're taking on a copy of Coulson, an evil copy of Coulson named Sarge himself. Yes, he is the one that we have to take on, and he's got one really cool Mad Max type of truck as well, and he has a crew with him, and the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has to stop them. And also, some of them are in space searching for Fitz, because we kind of left that door open at the end of the last season as well, so we kind of need to close that bad boy as well. So then, without any further ado, because I really can't go any further than I really want to, because those would be called spoilers, let's head straight into that cast then, shall we? So starting off, we have Chloe Bennett back as Daisy Johnson, also known as Quake. She now has some purple in her hair. I don't really know how I feel about that, to be honest. I don't know. I think that it doesn't really blend well, but I do like the purple in her suit. I will say that. I am a big fan of the purple in her suit. It's just in her hair, it's just like a little bit too much, you know? Then after that, we have Ming-Na Wen back as Melinda May. Just the same May as always, you know? However, she did get to spend some quality time with Coulson before he died, so that was nice for her. Then after that, we have Ian and Elizabeth back as Leo Fitz and Gemma Simmons. Then after that, we have Henry Simmons back as Alfonso Mackenzie, or just Mac, who is now the new director of S.H.I.E.L.D. And the way that he is a director, it's like the dude was born to be a leader, boys. He was born to be a leader. And then we also have Natalia Cordova Buckley back as Elena Rodriguez, also known as Yo-Yo. And then we have Jeff Ward back as Deke Shaw, finding a place in the world and also confirming multiverse theory, which we already know because of Multiverse Saga. And then after that, we have Joel Stuffer back as Enoch as well, because of the fact that he is on adventures with Fitz. Very nice as well. And then finally, normally I would say this man's name first, but since he is now the villain, I think we should put him at last. We have Clark Gregg here as the bad guy known as Sarge. What is his plan? That's too spoilery, but he has a plan and he's not afraid to execute it or execute people if need be. And I like the way that Clark Gregg portrays him differently from Coulson. You still feel that Coulson vibe, but maybe that's also just because he played Coulson. He looks like Coulson, so you do feel Coulson, but also it's like this guy will just execute people if he feels like it. So, you know, that's not really Coulson. But overall, the cast themselves have done a wonderful job with this season. season. I very much liked each and every last one of them in this season. However, I can't only talk good stuff because sometimes you gotta go into the bad as well. Speaking of the bad, this season feels weird. Look, there's a part of this season, this might be a little bit spoilery, so be warned, but there's a part of this season that just is set up for the next season, and then we have the S.H.I.E.L.D storyline. And while the S.H.I.E.L.D storyline is compelling and also answers some questions about the monoliths, which I am a big fan of because I have been curious about those bad boys since the end of season 2, it feels lesser than the storylines that we've gotten previously because of the fact that once you're done with the season, it's like, okay, so this was just set up so that we can get into the next season kind of thing. Because there's a storyline in this season that feels tacked on just so that we can get to 13 episode season, and then we have like, oh, but that is going to be the main storyline in the next season. I'm trying to say not enough, like in order to not really spoil, but I feel like no matter how I talk about it, it's just gonna spoil it. But I'm not gonna fully spoil it, but that is just what it feels like, because the next season is the important season, and also secretly the season that I did not finish. However, I actually did see one guy from Agent Carter return, so I did get that far, but it just felt a bit more tacked on. But not to say that this season is bad, because it is not, because I still cared about the storyline that we got about Sarge and the big truck and the monoliths and all that stuff. I am still a fan of like all of that. And also a little nice touch, and that is the fact that first of all, back in the previous 5 seasons, we've had the recaps all be presented by Phil Coulson. But since he is gone now, May does all of the recaps. And also, this is more of a Disney Plus thing, they finally understand that you can skip the recap, which is just crazy because I wasn't able to skip the recap in all 5 of the seasons on Disney Plus, but now I can, starting with season 6. I don't know why season 6 is special, but I guess it's also because the fact that apparently it has not been released physically, except for maybe in Japan, but I don't fully trust that one because outside of eBay, I can't really find anything about it. So that is a bit of a weird one. But overall, like I said, I enjoyed this season very much. So let's get into the final verdict then. And it might actually be lower than you think, and it is most certainly lower. So my final verdict for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D season 6 is going to be an 8 out of 10. Like I said, still a big fan of this season, but it is probably the second worst season Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D has to offer. However, I will say that it is like a high 8, okay? It's not a low 8, it's a high 8, but it's not on the level of 9. Like, I was thinking about this after I was done with the season. I went to the bathroom, I was like, nah, this is an 8. This is an 8. But I am excited to see what comes next, but I'm gonna end it here. So, let me know what you guys thought about season 6 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D in the comment section down below. With that being said, thank you all so very much for watching, and I hope you guys have enjoyed. And if you did, please like button, subscribe if you're new, if not, sorry, turn on notifications. Don't forget, check out the Let's Play channel link in the description and at the end of the video, and I'll see you guys next time. Maybe not next week, but continuity-wise next time in the MCU for season 7, which I'm super excited about because this will be the first time that I'm actually finishing this season. Bye!